Big time banger at bantamweight. We have a guy who, listen, I'm sure Brennan and Dale would love his nickname. You have to call me Dragon. Jonathan Martinez taking on Davey, who still should be in the Navy, Grant. And Matt, for Davey Grant, a guy that's represented Bishop Auckland and SBG Bishop Auckland for a while, he's coming in here on a nice two-fight heater. And you look at the wins, a split decision win over Grigory Popov, who didn't look all that good in the UFC, a little long in the tooth for a prospect, but his last time out, he took on Martin Day. Martin Day was a big favorite in that fight. We all took Martin Day. Who didn't take Martin Day? Davey Grant didn't take Martin Day. Davey Grant probably did the Tim Elliott and put like a cool amount of money on himself to win because Davey went in there and in that third round knocked Martin Day's lights out. And he looked amazing. Like, Davey Grant looked really good. And we've known Davey as a guy that's 10-4 right now. Majority of his wins by submission. He's got that slippery, slick ground game. But his hands really came together. And the other thing for Davey Grant that we've seen as his career's gone on, he's had long layoffs. Oddly enough, has improved. And by the time that he took some of these fights recently, I remember, he fought Manny Bermudez. He lost quickly. And then he took quite a bit of time off, about a year. And I thought, oh, he's still in the UFC? Oh, we're fighting Grigory Popov? And then he beats him. And then they match him up with Louis Smoke, and the fight doesn't happen, and he gets Martin Day. But you look at some of these losses, he came in off the Ultimate Fighter Season 18. He loses to Chris Holdsworth. I mean, I wish Chris Holdsworth didn't get hurt and we get to see more of him.
Would have been nice.
Then he comes out and he fights Marlon Vera. Yes, that Marlon Vera. And he beats him by decision in 2016. Still a developing Marlon Vera, but a nice name to have on the mantle. Loses Damian Stasiak by finish. Loses to Manny Bermudez by finish, but that was like golden heyday of the Bermudez triangle, and he finished him by triangle. And then again, the two wins. And for Jonathan Martinez, this is where it gets really tricky, Matt. We saw Jonathan Martinez come in. Well, I saw his debut, and I interviewed him. And at media day and at the little media scrums, because he was supposed to fight, and he did fight Andrei Sukumtov, Martinez comes out, hands in his pocket, really soft. Didn't really say a lot, just little interviews. And I remember watching, getting ready for that week, watching Jonathan Martinez interviews. I think he did an interview with James Lynch. I can't remember which publication it was with at the time. But it was like, yeah, I'm in the UFC now. I'm Jonathan Martinez. It's Dragon time. Watch over the fire. No, he didn't say anything cool like that. He was just very subdued. He goes in there and fights Andrei Sukumtov. Listen, and the other thing, too, you had fights for Martinez at 25, coming in at 35, loses a decision to Andrei Sukumtov, who was all that in a bowl of cereal that week in terms of media. It was really weird, but he was also coming off of his Sean O'Malley loss. So Jonathan Martinez loses to Sukumtov. He goes in and fights Luigi Beren. He's a slight favorite. He wins that. Then he fights Liu Pingyuan. Step up in competition. Finishes him in impressive fashion. Fights Andre Ewell. Loses split decision. Should have won that fight. He should have won that. Fights a poor and depleted Frankie Saenz. That fight didn't make sense. The other thing that didn't make sense, Jonathan Martinez missed bantamweight and weighed in at 140.5. So then in his last fight, and I'm going to cap it here and I'll let you take over, he fights Thomas Almeida. It's at 145 pounds. So you got a glass cannon in Thomas Almeida, from what we had seen, and he had a long layoff, taking on Jonathan Martinez at 45. Martinez weighed in at 146. Weight's been an issue. We're fighting Davey Grant at bantamweight. I hope this weight cut goes well, but for Jonathan Martinez, could realistically be on a 5-fight win streak and has looked good in those 5 fights.
I really do think he deserves to be on a 5-fight win streak. And really, if you look at those 5 wins all put together, Andre Ewell's a great win to have in your career, and so is Thomas Almeida. And having 2 wins like that does kind of justify fighting someone in the top 15. And I'm not saying Davey Grant isn't deserving of this opportunity, but to me, it was a little odd when this fight was announced. You have Jonathan Martinez, who he didn't just beat Thomas Almeida. And I do think this is an important distinction to make. You can knock out Thomas Almeida. It's not that hard to do at 135. But at 145, we saw a very crisp striking Thomas Almeida. And the fact that Jonathan Martinez outstruck him for the full 15 minutes, I think you learn a little bit more from that than if he just went out there and starched him with one shot. And the great thing about that fight was Martinez rocked him in every single round. And the thing I love about Jonathan Martinez, he's much more of a Michael Bisping striker than he is a Vanderlei Silva striker, where, yes, he has TKOs on his career, but he's not going out there putting everything behind every shot. He's a very measured striker, and he's very accurate with the shot selection. And the other thing I like about Martinez, he's very active with his back power kick to the point where he throws his kick just to prevent you from throwing punches. For a guy to not be ranked and only be 26 years of age, that's a really high fight IQ thing to be doing for someone like him this early on in his career. And really, the only question mark I have in this fight is, can Jonathan Martinez make the weight? Because personally, I think he should be able to win this. Let's be honest. I think Jonathan Martinez is going to be in the top 15 of either 135 or 145, whether he can get his weight together or whether he can't. I really do. I think that's the kind of talent that we're talking about. The issue has been the scale for him, though, and we've heard this before. Calvin Gastelum, another guy, all the talent in the world. Manny Bermudez isn't that good, though, so let's stop bringing him up when we talk about top-tier fighters. But I do think Jonathan Martinez is a guy who's going to be able to finish a lot of guys in the top 15. And Davey Grant, he's got the wrestling, he has the grappling, but we've seen Martinez. The thing I like from him is he's a great example of someone who can defend the takedowns before his opponent even touches him. He's got that wide stance. He's got really great footwork, too. And I do love his knees coming up the middle. We talked about this with Gabriel Benitez when he fought Justin James, the fact that every time James is going to crash into you, he's so fast with his reflexes on those knees and those middle attacks, and Jonathan Martinez can do a lot of that same stuff from that southpaw position. I think there will be areas for Davey Grant to take advantage of, maybe some of the takedown defense of Martinez. He might be able to get him down up against the cage, but Martinez, great at getting back up to his feet. He's a great long-distance striker. For me, I just think this is kind of strange matchmaking, honestly. The fact that Martinez probably should be on a 5-fight win streak, you would assume he'd be getting ready for those guys in that top 20 to maybe 10 range. And now he's fighting Davey Grant, who, yes, has looked better recently, but I don't think Davey Grant could go out there and knock out Martinez like he did to Martin Day. And Martin Day, it was a nice win, it was a good performance, but it's not like Martin Day had the best UFC career either. So I look at what Davey Grant could do to Jonathan Martinez, and I just don't see a lot of areas that he can take advantage of.
To me, here's what I'm thinking. For me personally, I'd maybe wait, see what the first round looks like. Because for Jonathan Martinez, I know, you make jokes at his expense, and he's a reserve guy. And listen, I'm fine with that. He seems like a really polite, nice kid.
He does.
And I say kid.
He's older than you.
He's a little bit older than I am. He's shorter. Maybe that's why. It could be a thing like that. It's like a Dana White power thing. But I look at it, Jonathan Martinez, I mean, he's got all the striking acumen in the world. He has decent takedown defense. And you look at Davey Grant. Maybe you like the sub prop on Davey Grant. Maybe that's the thing. I don't really like him to win by knockout. Not really so much by decision, because I like the volume out of Jonathan Martinez. And the thing is, I mean, you look at Tapology, 814 total votes, 87% Martinez, 63% by decision. If I pull out my handy-dandy notes and I look at the odds, you got one of the bigger favorites on the card in Martinez, who opened a minus 182 average on best fight odds, now minus 316. And if you look over at Grant, open plus 151, now at a plus 245. So I'm in agreement in here with you as well. I mean, Davey Grant has all of the tools, a little long in the tooth. Maybe he gets it done. It's almost like comparing the last fight that we had. I mean, Jinh Frey taking on Gloria de Paula. Way younger, much better striker, different ways to get it done. I like Martinez in this one.
Oh, I agree 100%. I honestly do. I think the ceiling for Martinez is really high. I do. If he can get his weight together, I love the cardio, I like the volume, and I think we are dealing with, and this is high praise, but we could be dealing with a Kyler Phillips type fighter who, yes, he didn't get his UFC career off to the best start, but you look at the improvements that he's been able to make, and you just look at his skill set. There is something special there for Martinez, and I think he'll be able to show it off Saturday.
To me, waiting until question mark kicks. I want to see what this looks like on the scale on Friday, but I will go with Jonathan Martinez. Not enough for me to put it on my card just because of the weight issues so far, so I'm not going to hit that line this early. I'm going to consider it pop and popcorn for now, but I am going Martinez.
Oh, I agree 100%.
Really looking forward to this fight and this fight card, Matt. We got a great main event. You have the man himself, Belal Muhammad, stepping into a huge opportunity to take on England's Leon Edwards. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt. As we always say, let's get into it.